Right, so for today's video, we actually have an update to a situation that I spoke about around 9 months ago at this point, and quite frankly, kind of forgot about. So when I started seeing these videos popping up on my For You page of these two TikTokers going at each other surrounding like copied content, I was thinking, oh, this sounds very familiar. And then I realized, yeah, this is a situation we spoke about around 9 months ago. And not only do we have a big topic regarding the lawsuit, we actually have some brand new information that I wasn't even aware of in these new videos. So let me add some context to the situation for the people who need a refresher, or maybe have just never even heard of this before. So there's two main creators you need to be aware of. The first one being Sydney Nicole Sloan, a TikTok with around 660,000 followers. And the second creator you need to be aware of is Alyssa Shield, who has around 30,000 followers, but I believe her original account got deleted because of this situation, maybe? I'm not sure. We hear a bit later on from Sydney that some of Alyssa's videos got removed from TikTok because of this situation. I'm not sure if that actually resulted in her account being removed though. But yeah, either way, this is a newer account. Now, as some of you might remember, Sydney was actually suing Alyssa, and this was all due to copyright infringement. Sydney was saying that Alyssa was copying a bunch of her content. In fact, let's actually go through some of the examples that Sydney says was copied. So here's the first example with Sydney's content on the left and Alyssa's on the right. As you can see, the outfits seem to be identical. Another example here of videos that were uploaded with Sydney's being on the left, Alyssa's being on the right. The lawsuit even went on to show Sydney's Amazon storefront with Alyssa's Amazon storefront next to it. Again, Sydney on the left, Alyssa on the right. The ones circled being ones that are similar, or at least, in fact, the same on each storefront. Again, another comparison here with pretty much identical outfits, even the boots being pretty much identical, with this kind of like flower around her neck being pretty identical. And I mean, you're gonna see a theme here. All these examples are pretty much showing the same thing. Again, with Sydney on the left, Alyssa on the right, outfits being pretty similar. Not only the outfits, but the poses and the pictures, like, aesthetic, I guess. There was even claims that furniture was copied, right? We got Sydney's video here with these two white boxes on these like little wooden tables. And then we got Alyssa's content on the right with the same white box being opened on these two little tables, which look pretty much exact same. And this is only a handful of the examples that were actually shown in the lawsuit. We're not going to go through them all because, I mean, look, it's the same thing over and over again, right? Sydney believes that her content has been copied, shows a side-by-side comparison. They look very, very similar. Now, remember at the time, the big debate was not whether the content was copied, but whether it was copied enough to the point where you could be sued over it. Most of the articles at the time were kind of just making fun of the whole lawsuit, kind of saying like, they're suing over a beige aesthetic and that's it. Which obviously does sound pretty silly, but I mean, looking at these comparisons, they obviously do also look very similar in terms of the outfits being identical, even bits of furniture being identical. So based solely on the evidence shown in the lawsuit, it really does feel like Alyssa did maybe take some heavy inspiration from Sydney's content, but then that's the question whether that can actually be taken further legally. And I was very curious to see how this lawsuit would play out, and it turns out we now actually have a conclusion. And not only do we have a conclusion to the lawsuit, we actually have a brand new back and forth between the two creators making videos responding to each other. Now, this first video was uploaded by Sydney a few days ago. I believe it's now deleted. I did find a re-upload of it though, so we can take a look through. Sydney started off by referencing some of the articles that said that she was just suing over copying a beige aesthetic, and says there's more to the story.
I sued another influencer for copying my beige aesthetic, is what the articles are saying. There is so much more to the story that hasn't been told. I've been silent for 2 years, and I'm finally ready to tell you my story.
Sydney then goes on to show a bunch of examples that she believes were copied.
These are some of my posts compared to another influencer starting in 2023. I discovered so many posts that, in my opinion, were clearly copies of my content. It was not only shocking and frustrating, but it felt like everything I put into creating content was just stolen. I sent many requests to stop, emails, even cease and desist letters, but she kept posting. I felt like I had no other choice but to file a lawsuit.
And then this is where we hear a bit of a backstory as to how Sydney and Alyssa know each other. So Sydney goes on to explain that she met up with two other influencers, one of which being Alyssa. Everything seems normal until Sydney realizes that she's being blocked by Alyssa, and now Sydney's asking the third person in this little group why this could be, and the third person doesn't know.
So I'm gonna start from the beginning with all the facts, receipts, and the truth. In December of 2022, I met up with two other influencers to get food and film content. We had a great time and texted a ton in our group chat after this. And we planned to meet up again in January of 2023. At the January meetup, it was the same thing, and we talked a ton about hanging out again. It was like 6 days later when I realized I hadn't seen this girl's post in a few days, and that was weird because she posts a lot like most creators. So I went to check her Instagram to see if I just wasn't seeing her on my feed, if she was okay. and I was blocked. I immediately called the other girl we met up with. She wasn't blocked, and she had no idea why in the world I would have been blocked when we had all just hung out and all talked about how excited we were to have content creator friends in the area.
Sydney then goes on to explain that after being blocked, Alyssa's content changed to be very similar to hers.
Until months later, I saw her content on a creator seminar, and people started sending me her content because they thought it was mine. It turns out after she blocked me, her content went from looking like this before we met to this. And I didn't see all these posts for months because she blocked me, which seems to me like she didn't want me to see what she was posting. These are just a few of the almost 100 posts in comparison to mine that she made after blocking me. You can see my post date and then hers. This is what my website looked like. She changed hers from this to this, which is word for word.
Yeah, I mean, look, that is very, very identical, isn't it? Now, obviously on the timeline of stuff like this, we are kind of just listening to what Sydney is saying and what the timeline was. But what Sydney is saying is that this was her website, and then after this was her website, Alyssa made her website to look identical. I mean, word for word, right? Links from my TikToks with the little hand emoji. Amazon SF, hold and tap open link. Amazon SF, hold and tap open link, except that the emoji wasn't copied here. So she wasn't a big fan of that one, I don't think. I mean, look, if there was only a couple of examples, it would seem all a bit silly. But the fact that apparently there is maybe close to 100 of these examples, that's quite a lot. Now, we are going to take a look at a recent response from Alyssa. She recently uploaded a video kind of responding to Sydney's newest video. So we do hear a lot more of her side of the story in just a second, but a little bit of a spoiler, I guess. One thing that she mentions is that some of the timeline is messed up. And from Alyssa's perspective, she is saying that she has proof to prove some of these items that Sydney believes were copied were actually ordered before Sydney even made the posts. Now, funnily enough, Sydney actually makes a newer response a little bit later on and says that's not true. So, well, we'll get through it. Now, a little bit later on in this video, Sydney then goes on to respond to a bunch of the articles that came out regarding this situation.
A lot of articles are claiming I'm suing over a beige aesthetic. I have never claimed to own beige, and I'm not suing anyone over a color or a trend. The story the media is telling is missing so many details, and the way that they're spinning it to make it seem like it's all about an aesthetic to create drama is misrepresenting the importance of this case. There is so much more to this. This lawsuit was about copyright infringement, DMCA violations, trade dress infringement, misappropriation, and vicarious copyright infringement. It's fighting for the rights of content creators because I do not believe that copying someone's content and business the way she did is okay. It needs to be prevented so this doesn't happen to other creators.
I mean, sorry, right? I was so fixated on the screenshot that was being showed throughout that. It just kept going. The scrolls just kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Every time I thought it was maybe going to stop, it just didn't. I mean, let's take a look at some of these. So yeah, I mean, taking a look at this, it doesn't seem to be just like simply like selfies or anything like that, right? I mean, we have like desk setups that Sydney believes were copied. We even have pots and pans apparently as well. We even have stuff like phone cases and like videos of things being stuck on fridges, I guess. Yeah, it looks like maybe like a planner with like the days of the week on it that you can write on, it looks like. Again, we have more furniture. I mean, there's actually quite a lot of furniture throughout this. I didn't realize just how much furniture Sydney was claiming was copied. We've got this table with these like two little stools with a circular mirror. Then on this side, we have a pretty similar thing, just in a different color. Even going as far as earrings, as we can see right here. I mean, we're not going to go through them all because, as Sydney just said, there's close to 100, so we would be here for a long time. But I mean, yeah, it's a lot of examples. Now, this is where we hear the conclusion of the lawsuit, and Sydney says that she's actually decided to walk away from the lawsuit.
I'm finally able to talk about this because I chose to walk away from this lawsuit. I have poured thousands of dollars and so much of my time and sanity these past 2 years. If I were to continue fighting this and bring it to a trial, I would have to spend up to $500,000. I can't do that. I am a new mom and I can't spend that kind of money on a lawsuit, much less the time that it would take away from my baby and my family. I can't do it. So as much as I believe what she did was wrong, I needed to walk away from this. All I wanted from the start was to get her to stop. I never even wanted to bring this to social media, but I know that staying silent will just allow this to happen over and over again to more creators, which is why I needed to share this story. TikTok did remove her post that I considered infringing on my copyright registered post, which is a huge step in TikTok taking creators' rights seriously. I'm not sure why, but months later, TikTok also removed her account. So if you compare her new account now with mine, you're not gonna see all the posts that made our accounts look like the same person the way they did in 2023 because they've been deleted.
Yes, as you heard, like, posts were removed. Also, this is like a newer account as well. But the main information we are hearing is, yes, like, Sydney's walked away from the lawsuit because it was going to be ridiculously expensive and very time consuming. Apparently, it could have cost up to $500,000, which is a ridiculous amount of money. Now, this is also where we hear two very different sides of the story, right? Because we're hearing Sydney saying, I walked away from the lawsuit, it was too expensive, too time consuming, like too stressful. And then on the other hand, we hear Alyssa's video in just a second where she is just straight up basically saying that she won the lawsuit. Or I think her wording was that the case ended in her favour. And we are going to get to that in just a second, but lastly, in Sydney's video, she does end it by saying that she doesn't want anyone to send hate over to Alyssa.
I'm not putting this out there to encourage any type of hate to her, me, anyone. Please remember, we are both real people. This lawsuit has personally taken over my life. I needed to share the truth and these details that the media hasn't, so I can finally close this chapter completely.
Now let's get over to Alyssa's video. Now, one thing I did see in the comment section of these videos, it's surely a bad coincidence just considering what this whole situation is about, but if we actually take a look at Alyssa's video, she's wearing this cross necklace, right? Now, in that video we just watched from Sydney, she is wearing what looks to be pretty much the exact same necklace. Like I said, I'm sure it is just a coincidence because that would be a wild thing to do considering the situation we're talking about here. Yeah, a lot of people noticed it. So let's actually take a look at Alyssa's video, right? So she starts off by saying that she wants the situation to just be over with so she can move on, but she's now getting a lot of hate because of Sydney's video.
I plan to just move on with my life now that the case had finished. However, my family, friends, and loved ones are getting insane amounts of hate from a video that's sharing a false narrative and a lot of misinformation. So I felt the need to share the actual truth.
And then this is where we hear Alyssa say that the case ended in her favour and there was no real case to begin with.
Over a year ago, I was sued, and this past week the case was ended in my favor. It's really easy to make something out of nothing when you're cherry-picking examples, but when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, you realize there was never a real case to begin with. Half of the claims in this lawsuit were dismissed before my team even had the chance to file an answer.
So yeah, we then hear that Alyssa says a lot of Sydney's claims were dismissed before Alyssa's lawyers even had a chance to respond. And then, like I mentioned earlier, Alyssa goes on to say that a lot of the items that Sydney says were copied, Alyssa has proof that she actually ordered them before Sydney even posted about it.
My lawyers and I showed photo metadata as well as my entire Amazon order history that proved I had ordered and filmed the product she accused me of copying weeks, if not months, before she ever posted. And the reality of the situation is that in the end, the other party had to ask for my team's permission to drop the case. What's even more frustrating is that hundreds of creators post Amazon content every single day using similar products, poses, and color palettes, but I was singled out. This wasn't just unfair, it was targeted.
Okay, so a couple of things right there. Alyssa says that Sydney had to ask for permission from Alyssa and her lawyer to drop the case. Sydney does have a direct response to that in the next video. Also, Sydney does respond directly to Alyssa's claims that she has proof that she ordered these products before Sydney even posted them. And as you can probably imagine, they heavily disagree with each other. Now, Alyssa ends this video by saying she's glad this is finally over and that this is a huge win for all creators.
This has been the hardest year and a half of my life, and I am so glad it's finally over. But at the end of the day, this is a huge win, not only for myself, but for all creators. It proves that you can't just use meritless lawsuits to scare people out of creating. I stood up, I fought back, and the truth is, I won. I'm so grateful for my incredible legal team and for everyone who has supported me throughout this chapter, and for everyone who will continue to support me moving forward.
And of course, that now brings us over to Sydney's newest response. In fact, this is the most recent response that we have. Now, Sydney starts off by saying that Alyssa isn't telling the truth, and then even goes on to say that Alyssa recorded Sydney without her knowing.
She is not telling the truth. If you didn't see my first video, this is Exhibit A from the lawsuit showcasing the extent of her actions that got us here. It was even to the extent that we were given a video from her phone that shows her filming me and following me from behind around a corner, and I had no idea she was there. A person that is able to, in my opinion, copy me to the point of stalking, change her hair, tattoo, and content so drastically, I do not believe this is the type of person that has honesty or integrity.
So yeah, I mean, you can see from that, the claims are a lot deeper than copied Instagram posts. Now, I haven't seen the video that Sydney's talking about. Obviously, these are just claims coming from Sydney's video. But Sydney does also go on to respond to a lot of the things that Alyssa said in her video.
But let's get into the receipts. Not only is her video not truthful or factual, but she didn't address any of the actual points from my video. She states that she won the case. This is a lie. I decided to walk away from the case by offering a settlement because it was taking away too much time and money from my family and my baby. As the defendant, she had no ability to walk away from this without my settlement offer. Again, I offered a settlement. I did not ask permission to drop the case. This is not a win for either party. It is a settlement that allows us both to walk away in which no party wins. I did not offer a settlement because I had no case to begin with, as she stated. There were actually 70 individual counts of copyright infringement that did not get dismissed after her team attempted to get the case dismissed and failed.
Yeah, so as we're hearing here, obviously in Alyssa's video, she said that like a bunch of these claims got dismissed before her lawyers even had a chance to respond. And Sydney's response to that is that there was over 70 counts of copyright infringement that didn't get dismissed. And then a little bit later on in the video, Sydney actually goes on to respond directly to Alyssa's claims that she actually ordered a bunch of these products before Sydney even posted them.
She claims she ordered and filmed all of the products before me. This is not true, and I have proof with dates to show every single product she purchased after I had ordered and posted it. Her screenshots of proof are fabricated. The receipts she's showing of my posts are not the first time I had posted that product. Of course, my post date she's showing would be after hers when that was the second, third, or fourth time I've posted that product.
Okay, right, let's actually take a look through some of these pictures then. Okay, so in Alyssa's video, she shows this black jacket, which was posted on Sydney's account, according to Alyssa's video, on the 7th of December 2023. Sorry, the American date really confused me for a second there. Now, above this in Alyssa's video, she shows a picture that was dated December 2nd, 2023, so before Sydney's post. And as you can see, this is the same jacket, which I assume was brought up in the lawsuit by Sydney. So obviously what Alyssa is trying to show here is that she had the jacket before Sydney even posted it. Now, in Sydney's most recent video, she goes on to show that she actually ordered the jacket on November 8th, 2023. And looking at this, it seems like Sydney's post that Alyssa showed in her video wasn't the first time that Sydney posted the jacket, and shows two examples here from November 21st and November 23rd. We then see another screenshot from Alyssa's video that shows an item that Alyssa says that she posted in May and says that Sydney didn't post it until October. But in Sydney's video, she goes on to show that she actually ordered this in March and first posted about this in April. And I'm sure you get the gist now, so we're going to go through them quickly, but in Alyssa's video, there's another one of the pots and pans, to which Alyssa says that she took the picture in October 2023, and Sydney didn't actually post about it until November 2023, but Sydney shows screenshots showing that she actually ordered the products in June 2022 and first posted about them in July 2022. Same thing again with this bag. Alyssa says Sydney's first post of this bag was March 18th, and Alyssa shows one of her pictures from March 12th, to which Sydney responds by showing this bag was purchased on March 10th, and also shows an Instagram story from March 10th showing the bag and saying that she likes it. So yeah, I mean, looking at the information we have here, it does feel like the screenshots that Alyssa was showing in her video weren't 100% honest. Sydney then goes on to say that Alyssa doesn't have any excuse for this, so instead she made up lies.
She was not even able to defend anything I said in my original video because she can't. She copied me and would not stop. She has no response or excuse for what she did, so she came out with a bunch of lies. It's inexcusable, and I'm not going to sit around silently while she deflects by name calling with absolutely no truth to her statements. Her claiming this is a win is false and misleading. A settlement is not a win, and she simply cannot admit to what she's done. Her pattern of copying has just continued. These are more recent posts compared with mine. Again, I never wanted to bring this to social media, but I have tried every single other way to get her to stop.
Okay, so we have some more posts showing comparisons. I'm going to go through these very quickly. I think everyone gets the gist of this at this point. Sydney's post on the left, Alyssa's on the right. I mean, it is just shoes laid on the floor. I don't think that proves overly too much. Another post here of Sydney's on the left, Alyssa's on the right, kind of opening the wardrobe. It is shot very similar, but again, I don't know if this would be able to prove copyright, because it is kind of them just opening a wardrobe. I mean, the outfits are different at least, right? I mean, obviously, just looking at a one-off post is very different to then apparently there being close to 100 examples. That's when it does change a lot. Another one here, Sydney on the left, Alyssa on the right. And yeah, I mean, this is the exact same product by the looks of it. Again, as a one-off video, you wouldn't be able to say that someone directly copied that, right? Because it is just a product that they've bought. But then you have to bear in mind the amount of examples and then make up your judgment from that. And then finally, some more comparisons here. I mean, this is just a shot that I see a lot of TikTokers do of them kind of like walking with their partner or just walking in general, right? With like your phone up facing downwards. So yeah, I don't know if this proves overly too much by itself. But yeah, either way, that is the update to the situation. All in all, the lawsuit has of course been dropped. They've reached a settlement. Alyssa takes that as a win. Sydney says it was just going to be too expensive and too stressful. Alyssa obviously denies the claims of copyright infringement. Sydney says that she's not being honest. But I think we've seen enough at this point for everyone to make their own judgment of what they think's happened here, so let me know in the comment section down below. I mean, first of all, do you think the content was copied? But second of all, do you think it's to an extent where it could be pursued legally? Obviously, it was being pursued legally, but we don't really know how that was going to turn out if it did carry on. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'm going to leave the video there. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. Also, if you're interested in some other content, me and Emily have another channel where we play games, react to reality shows, stuff like that. So if you're interested in any of that, that's always linked in the description. And until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.